So what do you do when you have equations that involve parentheses? Turns out you've got some choices. So no, I didn't make a mistake. You see the same equation here. This is from your practice packet showing up twice only because I want to show you there are two different ways. I'm going to show you first over here the way that I would like to do it to make my life simpler. Currently, my goal is to get the k by itself, and that means that the -8, the 3, and the 2 all need to be appropriately moved to the other side. What I'm noticing is that it's -8 times this parentheses that has the k in it. The 3 and the 2, they're in there with the k. I'm going to deal with them later. This -8 is what we have to deal with first. I would do it this way. -8 right next to the parentheses means -8 times the parentheses. So I can reduce away that -8 by doing a division right at the start. -8 divided by -8 is just 1. And 1 times the parentheses is just what's in the parentheses, the 3k plus 2. And on the other side, I'm going to use my handheld calculator. -208 divided by -8 is positive 26. And just like that, it's now a much simpler equation to solve. So do a quick pause. I'd like you to finish it out while I work here also to finish mine out. So I'm looking, the 3 is right with the k, save that for last. So take care of the plus 2 on the back by doing the reverse of -2. That leaves us with the 3k is 24. It's 3 times k, so the reverse would be a division. That leaves us with k equals, and then over here, an 8. We should, of course, check that. So I'm going to pull up my calculator and type in this left side of the equation just like it looks. So at -8, and then parentheses, 3 times k, and I think k is 8, plus 2, and hopefully I'm going to end up with -208. There it is, so we know we did things right. Now, over here, there is another option, and some of you have seen are doing this. This is perfectly cool. There's no problem with it. You've been taught in the past that when you see a number in front of parentheses, you should do what's called a distribution. You multiply that -8 times what's inside the parentheses. If you do that, you're going to end up with -8 times 3k is -24k. -8 times positive 2 is -16. And now let's solve it out just like we have before. So do a quick pause. Unpause when you're ready to check. So save the -24 for later because it's right there with the k. The -16 a little farther away. That's going to leave us with, on the left, those go to 0. So a -24k equals, and over here on my calculator again, -208 plus 16. So a -192. To finish, division and division. There's a pattern here, right? When it's a number times the k, when they're right beside each other, you finish by dividing by whatever that number is. So -192 divided by -24, oh, look at that, ends up being 8, which we knew it should be. And we've already checked it, so we know this is the correct solution. So it's not that one way is good and the other way is bad. I prefer the way on the left because it kept the numbers smaller in the middle. Some of you might prefer the way on the right because that's just how you're used to it. That's fine. As long as you keep track of your steps, you're going to end up in the same place. This is another reason why it's so important to make sure you're writing out those middle steps. Okay, next up, with number 42, do a quick pause and then unpause when you're ready to check things. All right, I'm going to do this one the same way I did on the previous page. It's just a number times parentheses. There's nothing else. So I'm going to start by doing a division by this -6 in the front. The -6 divided by -6, those reduce down to 1. And 1 times what's in the parentheses is just what's in the parentheses. On the left-hand side, 174 divided by -6 is -29. I want to get a by itself. So let's do the +8. -21 is 7 times a. Divide by the 7. And we end up with -3 equals a. Going to give that a quick check on my calculator. So I'm going to type in -6 times 7a, and I think a is -3, minus 8, and hopefully I get 174. There we go. That means we did things right. If you get any other number, that means you need to go back and figure out where the mistake is, because there's an error somewhere along the way. Now on 44, here, you again have some choices, but make sure that if you want to do like I did, if you want to divide this -7 away, you can't have anything else on the back of the parentheses. So I would say, regardless, let's deal with this -1 that's on the back first. And don't overcomplicate. What would be the opposite of -1? +1. Just like this. Now leave everything else the same. So -7 times -2 plus 3n. -134 plus 1 is -133. At this point now, I'd like you to pause, pick up, and finish. You can do a distribution, or you can do what I did over here. Just for some variety, I think I'm going to choose to do the distribution this time. So to distribute is to take the -7 in front times both terms in the parentheses. -7 times -2, well, that's +14. -7 times -3n, well, that's -21n. Again, I want to get this n by itself. Save the -21 for later. Let's just do the subtraction first. 14 minus 14 goes to 0. And then over here, just to be safe, I'm going to double check on my calculator. -133 minus 14. That's -147. And to finish, division and division. Those reduce down to just 1n. And -147 divided by -21 is +7. Let's do a quick check. So I think n is the number 7, going back to the very original equation. So I'm going back to this top row as it was printed. I'm going to put in the left-hand side. Hopefully we end up with -134. So -7 times parentheses, -2 plus 3 times the n, which I think is 7. Now, watch what I'm going to do here. One parenthesis just to finish the n where I put 7 in, and then a second parenthesis to represent this, closing out that multiplication. If you miss that, it's not going to do what you want it to, so be very, very mindful. And -1, hopefully we get -134. We get -134. So, moral of the story, it's important to show your middle steps so that no matter which choice you make, division or distribution, we can then follow your work and make sure things are going okay.